time to abandon ship.
Oh no!
Here we go!
Can I persuade you to join us for a drink? It's a tradition.
Here.
Jar Jar, homie, my main man, quickly. Before the Separatists attack, get into the escape pod.
Right! This is escape, then we're the pod.
Welcome back to Star Wars Escape Pod and our first week talking about Star Wars Skeleton Crew, episodes 1 and 2 of season 1 of this show. And boy, this show takes viewers and audiences back to the days of E.T., to the days of Goonies. And we have our co-hosts Kirk and Dan joining us in the podcast this week. And we're going to just dive right in and crack this egg wide open. So let's get into it.
Another happy landing.
All right, welcome back, Kirk. How are you doing?
Oh, it's good to be back.
Good to have you back,
Wow, this
sir.
music goes hard.
This is the Hutties version of the Major Tom song.
Actually,
Yeah, it is. Yeah, they just did like a YouTube music video for it, so got to snag that audio. Got to make it our after show theme, of course, for the next few weeks. Which we also have Dan joining us. So hello, welcome back, Dan.
Hello.
Hello.
I love that you're using this song. It's so good.
Yeah, I was trying to think what was the theme from that show? I don't even think there was a theme really, other than just this song, which kind of, they blasted it out on the YouTube channel, and I was like, oh, well, there's the theme right there. So,
all
there we
right,
go.
great podcast episode over. I think we reached the hype for today. There we go.
The battle with the DMC copyright takedowns begins.
The war has just begun.
Oh yeah. So cool. Let's get into this. So compared to other shows that have come out in the past, like if we just list off the live action shows for a second, right? We have Mandalorian. We got 3 seasons of the Mandalorian. We got the Book of Boba Fett, Obi-Wan Kenobi, Andor, Ahsoka, The Acolyte.
I think that's it.
Okay, yeah, minus the animation shows, right? So those are the live action shows, and now we got Skeleton Crew. This one is kind of a first, in multiple ways, right? Like it's a first for the very specific age group, genre, targeting a certain demographic of fans. But by saying that, I don't mean to exclude the older fans like us, watching a show that's essentially made for a younger audience, but really just kind of encompassing all ages as a form. It's like a fun show, right? But it really does take you to that age group of kids that were kind of growing up with movies like E.T. and the Goonies. And those same kids are now making this show. And that's kind of why I wanted to throw it out there like that, because all of these other shows are very, very different in kind of who they're targeting with what this story is telling. Who is this for, right? And I don't know. Did you guys get that feeling like watching this show, Skeleton Crew? Did you get the feeling that this is really for like a different type of Star Wars fan? Let's start with you.
Yeah, Oh no, go for it, Dan.
Right. I feel like it's targeting two groups, right? You get the basically my age, where like I was a kid when those movies came out. I was like around 10ish when E.T. and Goonies came out, so I love those movies. So with that said, I absolutely love the show. It's hitting all the right nostalgia notes, and so you get that target group that grew up with those, and then you also get like their kids, their children, because like they're experiencing this the way I experienced E.T. and Goonies, like young kids going on an adventure. leaving their mundane lives for something else out there.
Yeah. Ferris Bueller. Yeah. What about you, Kirk? What's your thoughts on this?
Yeah, I feel this is going to be a bit of a crowd pleaser show. I can see a lot of I guess millennial parents introducing Star Wars to their young kids through this show, and a lot of kids this generation will be watching this and become lifelong Star Wars fans now. Relating with all the kids that are on the show, but it's also hitting a nostalgia factor for me and a lot of people my era too. There's a lot of things that these kids already did in this show, pretending to do lightsaber battles, the struggles in school and all that, and wanting to go out and do stuff. It's hitting all those memories too. So yeah, I think it's really intended for a lot of people out there,
right?
And it's just an all around good time.
Yeah. I agree. I agree with both of you. I guess what I'm thinking is, as far as their core target audience, in my mind is really set with two generations of people right now. It's the fans that are kind of like Dan's age, grew up with the original films, grew up with E.T. and Goonies as films to watch as a younger person. And then this show is also targeting their kids, like Dan's kids generation of Star Wars fans. And then with those of us kind of in between, which have fallen in love with this era and the New Republic that they're developing, connecting with all those other shows somewhat loosely as well, sort of encompassing everybody in that sense. But I could really feel the difference about this show, just the story beats, the music, the kids on bikes thing. I was like, man, this just totally feels like a different, almost like a different type of storytelling within the Star Wars galaxy. And I guess it's part of the narrative as well. The planet that this show is kind of based in and around is apparently very hard to find and very out of the way for some people. Apparently people just don't know that this planet exists, which is kind of weird because it's part of the New Republic, but I guess we'll kind of get into that. So for those who don't know, Skeleton Crew is based in the New Republic, around the same time frame of The Mandalorian and Ahsoka and the Book of Boba Fett. And I don't really know exactly where they want to pin this story just yet, but I guess we'll maybe find out. But yeah, what we'll do here is kind of go into episode 1, break it down a little bit. We'll read about the story, and then we'll hit episode 2, and we'll do the usual. We'll read through kind of what happens, any notes we might have, and any speculation, and then give our Pablo points and Pablo poodoos, and then we'll move on. So. Starting with Season 1, Episode 1. This episode's called This Could Be a Real Adventure, directed by John Watts, written by Chris Ford and John Watts, which are the two showrunners for this series. This episode came out on December 2nd, 2024. So I'm just going to read through here. On the technologically advanced planet of Aten, anticipation hangs heavy in the air as young Wim and his pragmatic friend Neil prepare for their crucial aptitude exams. These exams will determine their future paths in life, a prospect that fills Wim with a mixture of excitement and dread. He confesses to Neil his lifelong longing to be a Jedi Knight, a guardian of peace and justice, despite Neil's insistence that such a dream is impossible in their modern age. Meanwhile, rebellious Fern and their mischievous companion KB, notorious for their disdain for authority and rules, spend their days indulging in thrilling hoverbike races through the bustling city streets, leaving a trail of excitement and chaos in their wake. As fate would have it, on the morning of the pivotal exam, Wim misses his bus. Determined not to miss this life-altering event, he grabs his own hoverbike and sets off in a desperate rush. However, his haste leads to the unexpected detour when he loses control and tumbles into a hidden ditch. To his astonishment, he discovers what appears to be an ancient, long-forgotten Jedi temple. To his own knowledge, its weathered and walls whispering tales of a bygone era. Before he can fully explore this incredible find, a curious droid emerges from the shadows, finds him, and escorts him back to school for his exam, but not without consequence. His father, Wendell, a stern, disciplined man, is furious at his son's reckless behavior and lack of responsibility. He delivers a harsh punishment. Wim must retake the exam with a daunting 50% curve to pass. Undeterred by his father's reprimand and fueled by the allure of the mysterious temple, he convinces his friend Neil to join him on the expedition to uncover it, and they run into Fern and KB, who decide also to uncover this treasure. Together, the group locate the hatch and dig it out. They get inside, and they witness an unexpected turn of events as they discover that it is actually a ship buried in the ground. Wendell, witnessing this unexpected launch of the ship from the ground, watches in horror as his son and friends are carried away into the vast expanse of space, and their future is now uncertain and filled with both peril and promise. Another thing is this episode started out with a pretty cool sequence, so we'll get into that. So I'll just run through the cast real quick, the cast and the characters, so we can kind of talk about them as well. Jude Law plays a character called Jodna Nawad, who is a charismatic Force user with a mysterious past. Nawad's quick wit and charm often help him navigate tricky situations, but his true motives remain unclear. It is also possible he could be a pirate captain. Ravi Cabot Conyers as Wim, who Wim is a curious and adventurous young boy from At-Adent who yearns for something more than his ordinary life, and his discovery of the spaceship sets events in motion. Ryan Kira Armstrong plays Fern, who is a rebellious and resourceful girl, always ready for a challenge. She's a quick thinker and a bit of a leader, and quite a snippy one, as we've come to see. Kiriana Crater as KB, who is a tech-savvy and loyal friend who is never afraid to speak her mind. KB's cybernetic enhancements give her unique perspective and abilities to aid the group on their journey. Robert Timothy Smith is the voice of Neil, who is a loyal best friend to Wim. He also resembles a young blue elephant. He's also the voice of reason within the group. Nick Frost plays the voice of SM-33, who is a rusty, outdated droid that becomes an unlikely ally. SM-33's loyalty and outdated knowledge add a comedic and heartwarming element to the group's dynamic. So, those are the main core group. Subtle mention to the actor who plays Wendell, Wendell's the father of Wim and Wendell. And he's a bit of a stoic kind of guy. Carrie Condon plays Farah, who you might know her as the voice of Friday, the AI assistant from the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And Farah is Fern's mother. So we got Farah and Fern and Wendell and Wim. That's your whole cast of main characters that we saw in the first two episodes there. And the show kicked off with a really cool pirate raid, which very likely the backstory of Jude Law's character, Jodna Nawad, kind of an awkward name, but also known as Crimson Jack. So, Kirk, what do you think of the kickoff of this episode? What do you think of the characters so far?
Loving these characters. I think the opening scene reminded me of the opening of Ahsoka. So you have like this on-ship heist scene that wasn't necessarily centered around our protagonist. So as soon as that kind of started, I'm like, oh, okay, we're in for something similar here. But as soon as we kind of arrived on the planet of which the name escapes me, and we're slowly introduced to these characters, I was like beginning to like them more and more every kind of moment. The scenes played out kind of reminded me of Ghostbusters Afterlife almost, like all the kids in the first movie, not necessarily the second because they grew up a bit more. But yeah, I'm really liking these characters, and I am quite enjoying the not necessarily the I've already forgotten their names, even though you literally just read them out. But the elephant character is definitely my favorite.
Yeah, I'll try and help us all out by doing this. So Neil.
Neil, that's right. Neil. Actually, I'm going to get these names up right now so I can actually just refer to them all. But I can already feel like these guys are going to get up to a pretty fun adventure together, and it's going to be interesting how they interact with Jude Law's character, which I'm going episode ahead. But yeah, my favorite scene in this in this one was like in the first episode was when he just like missed the bus and he's like running after him. It's just I don't know, it just cracked me up. Watching these guys run around with each other. And I also found it really fascinating, like how this society that they're living in, or this planet that they're on, it's not like Orwellian, I guess, but there's obviously something that the government or whatever the controlling powers are of this society or this planet are trying to hide from its citizens, given that no one's heard of the planet and also the very isolated society too. So I'm really curious what is going on down there as well.
Yeah, it is kind of weird, isn't it? I mean, I was wondering how that worked, because this planet is part of the New Republic, if I'm not mistaken. Is that right? Did I hear that?
Yeah, they definitely
they kept
are
mentioning the great work.
Yeah.
Right. In the schoolhouse, right? Like they mentioned the New Republic, and so I was just a little confused that it is part of the New Republic, and that like it seemed like nobody knew this planet existed, which I thought was very strange.
Maybe like the government's keeping it hidden for some reason, like because they're doing something there. Like the dad's always busy. Like what's he always busy doing? Like maybe it's some kind of secret black skunks like
maybe
operation that they're trying to hide, but they kind of seem like almost like they're stuck in time too. It's like kind of very suburban, like everything's perfect. Like
it does,
there seems to be no corruption on the planet. Like you didn't see any. It was very clean.
This village. Or the Cat in the Hat village.
So to me, it felt like, this is my own speculation here, but to me it felt like this planet was settled a while ago. Perhaps, because their currency is using very old Republic credits. We're talking pre-Galactic Republic, like pre-Clone Wars. We're talking probably literally the old Republic, like KOTOR era stuff. And it seems like it's very casual, the fact that he's bringing old Republic credits as his lunch money. It's like to me, I just think, okay, maybe this was a planet that was literally kind of so far out of the way that it did miss a lot of things. Like it did miss the Clone Wars, and it did miss the Galactic Civil War and all this stuff. And perhaps the New Republic is expanded in a different way, in which it's sort of, I guess, maybe recovered this long lost planet that maybe people have kind of forgotten about, because maybe it doesn't have any exports, maybe it doesn't have any like, I mean, it's really kind of weird, right? But I also think maybe there could be something there's definitely something up about this planet which could be shielding it from view, which has turned it into this legend. And I don't know if it has something to do with the sky, if there's like something in the sky that because there was a shot which kind of panned up and we saw some like drone things in the sky, and I don't really, it was like kind of like a teal cloudiness up there. So I don't, the kids didn't know what stars were, and that was weird.
They called it the barrier when they passed through it.
Yeah. So that was weird, and all I could think about was like Treasure Planet, like like this kind of weird nebula that just kind of cloaks the planet. You have to have a map to find it. Like even though it exists and it's out there and people know about it, it's still become this legend because it's not like it's a everyday coming and going kind of place. So I guess more will be revealed in time, but maybe the real value of finding this planet is just the simple fact that it's, using Old Republic currency, and maybe they've just got a lot of tech and kind of antique things there that no longer exist in the rest of the galaxy. And yeah, maybe there's something of value there, obviously, because the pirates really seem to be intrigued with finding this world. But that was kind of neat. But Dan, what did you think about the pirate raid at the beginning of the episode?
It was a cool way to start it out. You got to see, like, I don't think we've really seen like a pirate raid before in Star Wars, besides the pirates that showed up in Mandalorian, which one of them returns for this. That one guy, Vane, I think his name was.
Yeah, Vane or Bane or something. Yeah. Is it Vane?
I think I read it was Vane. But yeah, that was really cool. Like, it was cool seeing like them boarding it. Like they're using like the planks which in this case were like airlock tubes that they like rammed into the ship they're attacking, and seeing like a guy get his eye shot shot out, and seeing the different alien races that were involved too. So it's kind of like a hodgepodge of marauders.
Yeah, it seems that our friend Vane from this show was also the same character Vane in The Mandalorian, who showed up in chapter 17 and chapter 21. That was his first appearance, was chapter 17, The Apostate. So yeah, same character, same guy. So yeah, fun fact. There was
Going
also
back to the planet briefly. The planet kind of reminded me of like the mystery of Tanalorr. I don't know if it's giving me that feeling where like maybe there's like an abyss people have to pass through in order to get to the planet, given that no one else has kind of heard of it from Jedi Survivor.
Yeah, that's a good point. The weird thing is though that Tanalorr is Tanalorr, right?
I believe it's Tanalorr, the end planet where the Jedi Temple and everyone's trying to reach.
Right. So the weird thing is like Tanalorr, I can believe that people have forgotten about it because nobody lives there, right? But with Aten, it's like there's a whole civilization of people that's also it seems like they're very connected to the New Republic. So if they're connected to the New Republic, it probably means that they were connected to the rebellion or maybe the Empire at that, like, or the Republic before it. You know, like there seems like there's some, but unless it's going to be an established story point later that this really was a long lost planet, and then somebody from the New Republic, kind of found it and enveloped it into the New Republic government system. But it is kind of funny how how everyone's forgotten about this planet, and yet it looks like 1 million people live there.
Maybe it's just one of those things where like the high government officials of this society or this planet are able to communicate with the outside, or they send scouts outside just to kind of see what's going on with the galaxy, but they don't let anyone else leave for some reason.
Yeah.
And given that they've got Old Republic credits, maybe they just tell the citizens of this planet that they are aware and a part of the New Republic, but the New Republic on the outside may not have any idea of this existence of these people here.
Yeah, maybe. Yeah. Some funny little Easter eggs showed up in this episode. So 3 that I caught. One is the right hand of the pirate guy at the beginning. He's the Wolfman. Also in Star Wars known as the Shistavanen species. So I think way back in the original A New Hope, there was a scene in the cantina where we had a bit of a Wolfman kind of cameo. I don't think that scene is in the newer versions of the film. I think that was eventually removed. But the species has always kind of trickled through the stories. And in the 2D Gandhi Clone Wars series, there was a Jedi who was of this race of people. And now we have like a pirate character that's basically the same design. So I wouldn't be surprised if that's who he is a Shistavanen, even though he does look a little different from the episode 4 costume. I mean, that's a very long time ago for makeup and masks and all that stuff. So maybe they've tried to improve the design a little bit, but. So that was kind of cool. We had the RX pilot series bus driver show up, the same series of droid as the Star Tours pilots, the original Star Tours pilot Rex, who is now serving as DJ Rex in Disneyland and Disney World's Oga's Cantina. So that was really cool to see the RX pilot series show up. They also had a little bit of a stint in Rebels, if anyone remembers that. There was also footage of the holiday special, which showed up on the table of that family's.
That was so good. I laughed so hard at that.
Yeah, I couldn't believe they used that. I was like, what? So that was kind of funny. So those are the 3 things that I caught. I don't know if you guys caught anything else, but those are three things that stood out to me.
One of the space pirates, the guy who kind of looks a little bit like Lobot, that's Jaleel White, who's Urkel from Family Matters.
Oh, okay.
He was also the voice of Sonic the Hedgehog in the cartoons.
Gotcha.
He plays Gunter.
Got it. Okay, so that was the guy who had the cybernetic eye and stuff like that.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Okay. I was wondering who that was because the camera like lingered on him for just long enough that you're like, okay, that's probably a cameo, and I just didn't know who he was. But yeah, thank you for that. So something that stuck out to me about this show, compared to most other Star Wars stories where we're dealing with stories on the war front or people within this conflict, right? And this is really the first story other than Star Wars Rebels, which takes this kid who comes from this like middle of nowhere farmer planet and just kind of sucks him into this adventure with a rebel cell. This is the kind of the first show that really does that on a live action scale and in a different way, where it's like these kids and their planet is really, really far removed from any kind of galactic conflict happening out there. And, they really are kind of incidentally carried away into this world, like into this galaxy that we know it to be, being this this rough kind of westernized gunslinging environment. And that's kind of the place that they end up first, right after they get off the ship. And I couldn't help but think this is really just kind of the dream, for a lot of people who would envision themselves being cast away into this galaxy far, far away. That's probably the first place they would expect to end up at, is this seedy environment with weird aliens and crazy music and strange looking food and, people that want to kill you. And, I just thought like, wow, what a great way to start off this show for this particular genre of storytelling. It really kind of just hits the mark, hits the itch, I guess, or scratches the itch that kind of viewer wants that kind of story, I guess. It's very parallel to how Luke Skywalker also gets, carried up and sucked into this adventure that, he's from a simple life on a simple planet somewhere. And, now he's in the midst of all this other stuff going on. So yeah, I thought that was very in line with, previous Star Wars stories. I thought that was really good. I don't really know how I feel about the modern sort of Western coast lifestyle looking planet. I think if it was a bit more different, it might feel less weird. But the first episode here, all I could think about was that planet in Guardians of the Galaxy 2 or 3, where they go to this very like alien, but it's very residential area. And
that was Guardians 3.
Yeah, and Drax like throws a ball at a kid's face and just like smokes this kid in the face. All I could think about was that movie. And I was like, it feels like it's the same place. Like it feels like it's the same planet with all these like, all these aliens and just kids living like it was 1980 or 1990 here on the, North America, West Coast type thing. Like the lifestyle was almost identical. Everyone's got a car in the front yard. And I don't know. It was just like, to me, I was like, I don't know if it feels like Star Wars. Like that was like the only thing.
That 80s suburbia that they were trying to recapture.
Totally, 100%. And I can on the one hand I can get behind that, but on the other hand I'm like, this is so far removed from just anything we've seen in Star Wars before that it almost just takes me out of the story in that way. Yeah,
I know how you feel. It definitely is a big departure from like your usual Star Wars set design, and I feel like they've tried to like cram in as much weird stuff to make it feel like it could be a Star Wars galaxy, but it definitely does remind me of some weird, like I think I said before, like some Cat in the Hat suburbia thing where all the houses are the same and everything looks the same and the people all act a certain like weird, uncanny kind of way, very Truman Show-esque type of feel. Yeah. But it does seem like it's innately like from Earth, like the houses with the garages and then like the kitchens and everything. Like it all looks like they've honestly, it reminds me of those photos I saw from the Disney Star Wars like $5,000 a night hotel. Yeah, that's what it kind of reminds me of.
I think they were definitely going for that aesthetic. Like even the if you look at the bedrooms, like the way the cubby holes are, it looked like where the beds were in the hotel room, and it definitely had that vibe.
Yeah, they want to make.
Can you imagine familiar. To save money that they just repurposed the furniture from the hotel? And like, oh look, we've got ourselves a set.
That would be quite something. So that was the one thing I'm still kind of iffy about, but the rest of it, I was intrigued by the first episode. The Star Wars bicycle, I thought that was a smart design, very cool. With
the tassels on the handlebars.
Yeah. And it's also something to keep in mind. Like this planet doesn't look like they even have a starship. Like it looks like starships and high rise level speeders, like speeders that actual like speeders, not just swoop bikes and land speeders, but speeders that can elevate. It looks like that just doesn't exist on this planet for whatever reason. And I think that's maybe what just took me out of it a little bit. Because even on a dust ball like Tatooine, you know, like the vehicles out there, you know, you get ships, right? Like the ships coming and going out of the planet and whatever else. I think the only thing that I could really draw a comparison to was a scene in Attack of the Clones where you see Dex's diner on the far reaches of Coruscant. Sort of somewhere in Coruscant, there is like an area where this diner just kind of exists on a ground level. And it's kind of got this street outside of it with all these speeders kind of, you know, bustling around, you know, back and forth on this busy street. And it's a lot of land speeders, but it looks like, you know, it's resembling cars outside of a busy, you know, diner on a corner kind of thing. And that was the only thing I could really draw a comparison to in my mind. But other than that, I really haven't seen anything like this before. And so, you know, if that's what they were going for, they definitely succeeded. So, yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing other parts of this planet, which hopefully we do, because it does intrigue me. But so far, the very modern West Coast living lifestyle was with all the trees and everything. Looks like it was literally shot in like British Columbia or something with all those trees in that forest and stuff. But yeah, maybe for me, just a little too close to home. I don't know about you, Kirk. You know, you got kangaroos in your backyard, so I don't know how different it was.
Yeah, I didn't see any kangaroos. I didn't see any kangaroos in this episode or on this planet. So it looked like Star Wars to me. Because anything without kangaroos doesn't feel like Earth. So it makes total sense.
All right, so this episode, do you guys have anything else, or should we give this a Pablo Points of Poodoos? Pablo Points of Poodoos.
We can go ahead and rate it.
All right, cool. So for those of you who do not know our rating system, it is a scale of 7. So we have at the very bottom, we've got 3 Pablo Poodoos being the worst of the worst of the worst. Moving up from there, you got 2 Pablo Poodoos, then 1 Pablo Poodoo, and then a Bendu, which is a 50% score. Then you have Pablo Points. 1 Pablo Point is good. 2 Pablo Points is great. 3 Pablo Points is the best of the best of the best. So, Kirk, we'll start with you. What would you give this episode?
This episode, I'm going to give a 2 Pablo Points.
2 Pablo Points. All right, Dan, what about you?
This probably surprised you, but I'm going to give it a 2.5 Pablo Points.
Oh,
I
that's
absolutely
high.
loved it. The only thing that bothered me was maybe the kid was a little annoying. Like, oh, what's this blinky light? I'm going to push this.
Yeah.
He kept doing everything wrong. But I mean, if he didn't do that, they wouldn't be on this adventure, right? So it's like, and his name is Whim, so he did everything on a whim.
Yeah. Okay, well, I'm gonna give this a man, that's tough. I'm gonna give this a 1.5. I think I thought it was good. I was impressed. I was intrigued. I wasn't blown away. Yeah. All right. Sweet. Let's move on to the second one here. So episode 2, what's this one called? This one is called Way Out Past the Barrier. So this was directed by David Lowery, written by Chris Ford and John Watts. Episode also came out December 2nd, 2024. Lost in space, the kids encounter a rusty old droid named SM-33, otherwise you may as well call him Smee, who's still waiting for his long-gone captain. Fern, ever the quick thinker, convinces SM-33 that she's in charge and killed the captain. He believes the lie and sets course for the nearest outposts on her command. With no map to guide them, they arrive at a bustling pirate spaceport, teeming with strange aliens and unfamiliar customs. Exploring the outpost, the group gets separated. Whim, trying to buy some food, innocently uses his milk money currency that turns out to be incredibly valuable in this part of the galaxy. When he mentions his home planet, At-Aten, the locals erupt in laughter. It seems At-Aten is legendary, rumored to hold a hidden treasure. Suddenly, the friendly vendors transform into greedy pirates, their eyes gleaming with greed as they chase the kids through the crowded marketplace. In the chaos, poor SM-33 is blasted, leaving the children defenseless. Brutus, a ruthless pirate leader who we met at the start of episode 1, captures them and throws them into a grimy brig. Just when all hope seems lost, a mysterious figure emerges from the shadows. He introduces himself as Jod Na Nawad, who uses the Force to grab the key to the jail cell. He offers to help them escape, but with one condition. They must take him with them on their journey. So this was pretty crazy. I mean, it wouldn't be a Star Wars story, I guess, without the presence of the Force. So Dan, what do you think about that scene? Like when he uses the Force to grab the key, I mean, what's your theory on who this guy could be?
Yeah, it was interesting. Like because we thought like all the Jedi are gone except for like Luke at this point. But I'm just curious to see where it goes. Like, how he was a Jedi, but then he becomes a pirate and who's tossing people out an airlock. Supposedly, if he's the guy that was at the beginning of episode 1. So it's interesting to see what his motivation is and where it goes.
Yeah. Kirk, any thoughts?
About the Force use in particular or the episode in general?
Yeah, about the Force use, and yeah, if you have any thoughts about the episode, yeah.
The Force use reminds me of that meme I saw recently where it's just like Jedi that survived before Order 66, and it's like one Buzz Lightyear, and then like it's after Disney took over, it's like Jedi that survived after Order 66, and then like it's like all the Buzz Lightyears up on the shelf in Toy Story 2 because there's like hundreds and hundreds of them now.
Yeah.
So for me, I'm just like, how many people are Force users? Obviously, I don't know what Jude Law's character is all about, but I looked at it again. I'm like, I feel like it's wearing off. This after the Empire has fallen, we're seeing more and more Force users. It didn't really bother me that much, but that's the first thing that came to mind. I'm like, another Force user. Here we go.
Yeah. I was a little confused, to be honest. I honestly, on the one hand, I wasn't surprised, but yeah, it is kind of like it's one of those things. It's like, okay, how many really are kind of flying around out there? I personally have a theory that this could be like a lost youngling, perhaps a kid who was rescued or stowed away. Much like Grogu, the Master died. He retained a lot of his Force abilities, perhaps practicing over the years to keep up with his skills as a way of survival. Perhaps had to use the Force to grab things, to rob markets, to stay, fed and stuff like that, right? Because it would be we're talking like maybe a 6-7 year old without a home, right? So. I could totally imagine that, kind of like Ezra, but with knowledge of how to Force grab things. So he probably kept up those skills, got a job as a pirate, and now he's been cast aside, by his own crew because he keeps failing them as a captain to find them actual riches to steal. So that was just my theory. I guess we'll see if it pays off. Yeah, SM-33 is a cool character. His name may as well just be Smee if you turn those 3s around. There is this understanding that he and the Onyx Cinder could be very old. Like, I don't know how old you guys think this is, but I was guessing probably pre-High Republic based on those skeletons being all dried and crusty with no skin left and, like it being completely buried under this ground, which has overgrown the ship like completely. Like I don't know how long it takes for that kind of thing to happen, but I imagine it takes a long time, like probably like at least 100 years. So this droid and all this stuff on board is probably like, like we're talking like Acolyte or before High Republic times. Like, would you say that's probably around where you'd think this might take place, like with how old Smee is and the Onyx Cinder, or were you targeting this?
Yeah, I think maybe that sounds about right. I was originally thinking, it could be like 30, 40 years, but a couple hundred years wouldn't surprise me. High Republic is a long time ago, isn't it? Like 400? Oh no, sorry.
It could be. Depends on when during the High Republic. Yeah, it depends on when. Because the High Republic spans like 300 years, or 300 or 400 years. So yeah, could be during, could be prior.
The only thing that makes me question that would be there's that little rat creature that lives inside of SM-33's skull.
Yeah,
and if that that thing, did that live there for hundreds of years? Like, what was it eating?
That's a good point. Movie magic. I don't know. That's a really good point, though.
Yeah, but I mean, that thing could have just came on board from the planet too. Like, it couldn't. Maybe it didn't crash on the planet with it. It just snuck aboard through a hole somewhere in the ship, and then found a home inside SM-33.
Yeah, maybe. I wonder if there was maybe some food.
But the ship was airtight when they went up. So how did the rat get into the TV? Sorry, into the ship,
into the TV. Yeah, it's a good question. I mean, I wonder if there's some like food or some rotting food down in the I don't know, in the base of the ship somewhere that maybe it's been living off that, or maybe it doesn't feed on food. Like some animals like Minox, they feed on power lines, right? So. It's possible maybe this creature could have been feeding off of the remaining power supply that this ship had to offer, which is probably quite beefy for the thing like the size of a caterpillar. But, it's like, not enough to completely waste the ship because obviously we saw it take off. But yeah, that is a good question. I mean, I wonder if a source book will answer that at some point.
I guess it could also fed off the skeletons that were there.
That's true.
At one point, they had flesh.
Yeah, that's true. It's a good point. 2 Easter eggs I noticed. We got Teak showing up, same species alien as Teak from Ewok Adventures, although this one was, at least it looked like a smaller version. The Teak from Ewok Adventures was a costume for a person, and the Teak in this depiction was, I don't know if it was a puppet or a practical puppet, or if it was CG, but it looked a lot smaller. Like it looked more like a monkey.
It was a puppet.
It was a puppet? Okay, all right, yeah. So it moved like
I read.
It did move like a puppet. So I was gonna say like that's cool. That's but yeah, it Teak. You guys watched Ewok Adventures, right?
Yep.
Yeah, like Teak moves really fast. So it was very I don't know. However they approached that puppet, very smart design. So they managed to pull off the look like really well. Bit of a scrawny little thing. The other Easter egg was Borgo Prime. So this is the Port Borgo from the expanded universe, which was featured in a novel that I read a long time ago called Young Jedi Knights Shadow Academy. And this was just a location that showed up in that novel, which is basically just a space station built into the side of an asteroid or something like that. So that was cool. Like they seem to have a knack for bringing back all these EU locations and things over the recent history of Star Wars stories. So it was kind of cool to see that. But that was all I caught. And then there was that guy that you mentioned, Dan, the cyborg. But was there anything else you guys pointed out? Noticed?
You had the droid that was doing the tattoo. That was the same one that was same type of droid that I believe was in one of the movies torturing the Gonk.
Oh yeah, that's right. Yeah. He was given that, was it a person or was it a Gamorrean guard or something? He was doing a Hutt cartel tattoo on that guy's arm. So that was kind of funny. Yeah. So in general, go ahead.
Sorry, the little creatures that were in cages that flew out, the fuzzy guys with the butterfly wings.
Mm-hmm.
Those are from Captain EO, the Michael Jackson
oh, really? Cool.
Star Wars-esque 3D show that was done by George Lucas.
Oh, that's insane. Dang, it's pretty deep. In general, what do you think about this episode? Kids show up at a spaceport. They spill some soup. They get captured by pirates. I mean, like what'd you think of this one as a whole, Dan?
I enjoyed it. Like it was, continuing the themes from the first one, but getting more into like the pirate stuff. You even had like the scene where the kids were in the cage trying to get the key. That was very much like Pirates of the Caribbean, mm-hmm. where the pirates are trying to trick the dog into getting the key.
Yeah.
So I thought it was cool, and you get to see like them interacting more. The girls with kind of against the boys, but then like them coming together, forming a team, and then introducing Jude Law into the mix and seeing where that's going to go.
Yeah,
but that was fun.
Yeah, Kirk, you any detailed thoughts on this episode as a whole?
Yeah, I more enjoyed this episode. I felt like it took me out of the city, which is one of the problems I had. Well, one of the only problems I had with the first episode, just as we were talking about. And then gave me a bit of like space adventure, Guardians of the Galaxy feeling, and continued the themes of the first episode. And if most episodes are outside of the planet from there and we're going on little adventures with these characters, I think like this one, I think we should be in for a pretty good treat. I had a great time with this episode.
Awesome. Sweet. Let's give this some Pablo points and poodoos. I like this one a bit more. I think just because we were off of, Elm Street type thing, like, this was really just the Star Wars that I'm used to, and the environment was very cool. The whole pirate station aspect of this story was great. I love the environment. All the aliens and costumes were very well done. So I gave this one 2 Pablo points. I just enjoyed it slightly more than the first one, even though the first one was good. But I just liked this one a little more. I don't know, in general. How about you guys?
I think I might have to change my rating from this first one. I might give this one. We are doing. I can give my Pablo point, right?
Yeah.
I'll give probably a 1.5. Sorry, for the previous one, and then 2 for this one. I just like this one a bit more.
Oh, okay.
They're both really good.
Oh, so you're the exact same as me then. Yeah. Okay. Dan, what about you?
Yeah, I think that's what I'll do. Yeah.
I'm going to stick at 2.5. I loved both episodes. I had a huge smile the whole time.
Nice.
Loving the series.
Awesome. That's good to hear, dude. Yeah, I mean, like, so far it seems like this show has been getting like some really nice feedback. Like, just in general, like online, it seems like a lot of critics have nothing but good things to say about Skeleton Crew so far. And for those wondering, you can get a Lego set for this show, and it's probably, in my guess, the only one that you'll ever be able to get, because it is a very niche show, and I don't even know if it's getting a second season. So you can buy the Onyx Cinder with its core cast of characters. Right now, it's been available since like October, I think, or even September. It's been out for a while. It's just people just, I guess, maybe didn't really know what it is. On the box of the Lego set itself, I don't even think it has the Skeleton Crew badge. It's just kind of generically Star Wars Lego. So maybe I'm mistaken, but I'm pretty sure that's the case. But that's all we got for this week. I honestly wish there was a bit more to talk about when it comes to this show, but so far, it is what it is. Like, it's just a fun, light-hearted, low-stakes kind of show that doesn't necessarily have any impact on the greater galaxy and the storytelling with the New Republic or any of that kind of thing. And I'm still trying to figure out if that's like a refreshing story to watch, because sometimes those stories can be so divisive, right? Like, with the Acolyte being the previous show that we saw in live action, had so much more to more high stakes. It was like the first time we were seeing this era in live action. It's really kind of trying to position itself as that show that's the return of the Sith, and then we got what we got, and people just weren't expecting what it delivered, and I feel like a show like this, it's like not only just a great entry point for younger Star Wars fans, but it is also just a very low stakes kind of story to just enjoy. You can just sit there and enjoy it. So I'm looking forward to the coming weeks where we have more of these episodes come out, and this show will take us midway into January. I think the whole season is supposed to be 8 episodes long, so looking forward to the adventure ahead. But with that said, Dan, you got any last things to say?
No, just fun show. Maybe mention the directors. So far, we've had 2 directors, both very strong. John Watts, who did the previous 3 Spider-Man movies, and then David Lowery, who did Pete's Dragon, Ghost Story, and Green Knight, all very interesting movies themselves. And then we have coming up the Daniels, Bryce Howard, and the director of Minari. So some interesting directors being added to the Star Wars roster.
Yeah, thanks for that. Yeah, for sure. What about you, Kirk? Any last things to say?
No, nothing else to say from me. I'm actually the one other small thing I will say is that my partner's not usually a massive Star Wars fan, and whenever we watch shows, she kind of gives it a miss. But this one, I sat her down and was like, I think you'll enjoy the show, and yeah, she absolutely loves it. So I think
awesome.
If that's a good indication this show is going to be good, then I think that's all I can say for now.
Yeah. Awesome. Cool. All right. Well, which Dex Diner? What rhyme do you have to finish off here? Because you normally have something.
Here we go. We are going to I don't have a rhyme at the moment. Damn, I should have prepared one.
I stumped you this
week. You did. I was trying to think of like maybe we can grab some saucy sausages down with the skeleton squad at Give Me a Planet. That took a really bad turn. Let's just delete reboot. Let's come grab some donuts down at Dex's Diner with me while I really evaluate my life choices and rethink my life after having some Death Sticks.
Nice. All right. Sounds good. We'll see. Hopefully I'll see you guys next week. And yeah, we'll catch you later. All right, and for those of you real quick, Epic Games right now, you can get Lego Star Wars The Skywalker Saga for free on Epic Games until December 12th. Look forward to more podcasts, and also check out our special guest episode from last week with Mark Anthony Austin, Boba Fett and the special editions. That was a great episode. We'll see you next week. May the Force be with you.